So if you watch the news, you're probably utterly confused on what is going on in the real estate market. And I'm going to specifically talk about the Chicago real estate market today. And we're gonna outline the 5 things that you must know about the Chicago real estate market in 2023. And just for reference, it is mid-April 2023. So we are in the thick of the spring market, Q2 here in the Chicago real estate market. So without further ado, let's jump on into today's video outlining the 5 things you must know about the Chicago real estate market. Welcome back to another video. My name is Jordan Pyle and I am your go-to Chicago real estate agent. My team and I have been servicing buyers and sellers in the downtown city of Chicago for the last 10 years. So if you're thinking about moving to Chicago, or maybe you're already living in Chicago but thinking about making a move in 2023, feel free to reach out. Just feel free to text the number here on the screen. That'll go directly into my team and I, and we'll make sure to reach out to you, talk more about your real estate goals and how we can help in that process. Lastly, if you've liked this video and it's giving you some value today, please do us a favor, share it with a friend, like the video, comment down below, and definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can catch all of our future videos. We put out videos every single week about living in Chicago, moving to Chicago, and Chicago real estate. So without further ado, check out all the free resources down in the description, and let's dive on into today's video. So first up on the list today, we're gonna be talking about the current state of the Chicago real estate market here in 2023. And currently we are still a seller's market. So you've probably heard me talk about this on previous videos, but the way that we define a seller's market in Chicago is anything under 4 months of inventory. So to explain that a little bit more, that's basically days on market. So if homes are hitting the market and they're taking 4 months or more to sell, that is typically a good indicator that we are in a buyer's market, meaning there's more supply than there is demand. So anything over 4 months of inventory is typically considered a buyer's market, where there is more supply of homes than there are demand for those homes. And to be completely honest with you, in my full career of selling real estate for the last 10 years here in Chicago, I have never seen a full-blown buyer's market. We've always been more in a seller's market where there's more demand than there is supply. And a lot of this reasoning is because interest rates for the last 10 years have been historically low. Low to a point where we're probably never gonna see a 2.5% interest rate ever again in our lifetime, right? So now we're sitting somewhere around 6.5%, 6% interest rates, and we'll get into that later in this video. But because of some of these reasons, you would think that it may be more of a buyer's market because interest rates are high, which may be keeping people out of the market, therefore being less demand in the market. However, the bigger issue is inventory. So we have no inventory. There's very, very little inventory throughout the city of Chicago. And this is actually a nationwide trend as well, which is even though and despite interest rates going higher, we still have a ton of buyers in the market looking for solid homes. And there's just not enough solid homes to match the amount of demand, which is leading prices to continue to increase. And we're still seeing a lot of multiple offers and bidding wars on properties that are priced well, they're in a good location, and the marketing for that property is reaching the widest pool of buyers possible. If you can kind of hit the head on the nail with those 3 things, that property is still usually selling within the first 2 weeks of hitting the market. So it's important for you to know, if you're a seller, it's a great time to sell. There's a ton of buyers out there looking for great homes. So if you own one of those, let me know if there's anything that we can do to help you prepare to sell in 2023, but it is a very good time to sell. On the other side of the coin, it's a little bit more difficult as a buyer in the Chicago real estate market. And this is why you want to make sure you have a team in place, such as your realtor, your attorney, your lender, and anyone else that you may need to make sure that your buying process is as efficient as possible, and so that you can actually be competitive in this real estate market. Because most of the properties that I've been bidding on with my buyer clients right now, they've been competitive. They've been multiple offer situations, or at least the situation where we need to come in 95 to 97% of asking price, if not 100%. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about, is just the fact that we are still in a pretty extreme seller's market. The leading root cause of the seller's market is just because there's no inventory. So if you're thinking about selling, it's a great time. If you're a buyer, it's still a great time. However, it just takes a little bit more finesse. Number 2 on the list for the 5 things you must know about the Chicago real estate market, and this is more of a macro trend, but it's super important and it drives a lot of the market, which is interest rates have crept up over the last 12, let's just call it 9 to 12 months, and mortgage payments now are about 40% more expensive than they were this time last year. So if you were to buy the same $500,000 house this year, right now, mid-April, as you would have in 2022 mid-April, your mortgage payment today, considering all things are the same with your down payment, with your credit score, with all of that, your mortgage payment is about 40% higher today. So with that being said, that's creating a little bit of an affordability gap. So while a lot of buyers are doing very well in the last 3 or 4 years, they've done very well in their careers and their business, they've saved a lot of money. A lot of the people I'm working with are actually in very good financial positions. And so even though that 40% increase on what it costs them to live is pretty significant, they're still deciding that other reasons aside from the financials alone are important to them to be able to buy properties. And this is just more of what I like to refer to as buying for lifestyle, right? Buying because you need more space or because you have some type of large family plan coming up where you're growing your family, maybe you're downsizing, maybe you're getting married or engaged and you're thinking about the future. There's still a lot of reasons outside of strictly the financials that people are buying and selling homes. So while interest rates are higher and we're expected the Fed to continue increasing interest rates over the next 2 meetings, we still think that rates are going to settle in somewhere between 5.5% and 6.5% basically all of 2023. So when you're thinking about buying or selling a home, or more specifically buying, just know there's a lot of creative ways out there for us to be able to help you in that affordability. And one way that I actually used to buy my condo here in the last couple months is basically getting a seller credit. So negotiating an offer that includes a seller credit where we're bumping up the purchase price just slightly to accommodate for a seller credit. And then we can take that credit and apply it to a interest rate buy down. So I did a 2-1 buy down. So for the first year of owning this property, my interest rate is actually 2 points lower than the current market rate. Now year 2, that goes to 1 point lower. That's why it's called a 2-1 buy down. And then year 3, it readjusts to whatever the market rate is. The idea is within the next 24 months, we'll be able to refinance and lock in a more long-term loan at a lower interest rate overall. So just know that even though interest rates are high, a lot of people are still making real estate decisions despite that, and there are a lot of creative options, and lenders have a lot of great loan programs and different grants to be able to help people get into homes and to own real estate. The third thing on the list of the 5 things you must know about the Chicago real estate market in 2023 is we just welcomed a new mayor to the city of Chicago. So Brandon Johnson was just elected over Pyle, and a lot of things are kind of up in the air to see what happens. So part of Brandon Johnson's plan, there have been a couple controversial issues in the news, such as the mansion tax. So essentially what this is anything over $1 million is going to be taxed at a higher rate in terms of the transfer taxes. So the city and state transfer taxes, anything over $1 million, are going to significantly, potentially go up pretty high. And this is something that for a lot of buyers in Chicago, $1 million home, even though that is a large amount of money, it is kind of an entry point for a lot of townhomes and single family homes. So this is something that will impact Chicago real estate, and this will impact buyers and sellers of real estate in the Chicago real estate market. The other thing just with Brandon Johnson being elected is when you have any new elected representatives coming into office, there are a lot of things that can be changed that will impact your real estate investments. So this is different ways that they're gonna fund projects and enhancements to the city, different ways that we're gonna get around managing crime and allocating resources to that, which then makes Chicago more desirable or less desirable, depending on how that situation plays out. So there are a lot of just things that we need to pay close attention to with the new mayor taking office so that we can understand how different policies, different guidelines, different laws and bills that are gonna be passed, how those are gonna impact the buyers and sellers in the Chicago real estate market, and in general, the Chicago real estate market being attractive for years to come. The fourth thing you should know about the Chicago real estate market in 2023 is we are a very insulated market. So over the last few years, we've seen a crazy boom, right? Some of these markets such as, Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Charlotte, you have Utah. Some of these other markets saw 30-40% increases as home appreciation. And so those are the markets right now that are getting a little bit hit harder than cities like Chicago. And Chicago is just a very kind of middle of the road, very stable market. And I think it's because for one, it's in the Midwest. For two, we have a very strong job market here. So there are a lot of large corporations that have their headquarters in Chicago, which constantly gives reason for people to need to move to Chicago or to live in Chicago. And then just in general, we don't see large fluctuations of appreciation and depreciation. So we're kind of projecting home values this year to stay flat, if not going up a couple percent, despite all the things you hear in the news. So that being said, I think a lot of investors continue to flock to the Midwest and Chicago specifically, just because it's still a very affordable market compared to some of these other large metropolitan cities around the country. So number 5 on the list today about the 5 things you must know about the Chicago real estate market in 2023 is the fact that the rental market continues to be the majority of the population in Chicago, meaning there's more people that rent homes in Chicago than people that own homes in Chicago. I've mentioned this in videos in the past, but Chicago is one of the most rent-heavy cities, if not the most rent-heavy cities in Chicago. So the way that this kind of works into the thread of this conversation today on this video is the real estate market is largely dependent and it kind of is cyclical based on the rental market. So the strongest time of the year where people are getting ready to rent places is everything in like the spring market, which is where we are today. So let's just say it's the Wednesday after the Super Bowl, which is about mid-February or early February, all the way through about June 1st, maybe July 1st, but pretty much February, March, April, May, and let's just say June. Those are the main months where people are signing leases. So a lot of the activity in the real estate market reflects that, right? So when you have people that have leases coming due in May and June, they're actually the ones that are in the buying market in February, March, and April, because then they need to go under contract and time up their closing so that it matches up with the end of their lease term. So when a lot of people think about the spring market, we're kind of already almost past it and we're getting ready to head into the summer market. Typically the summer market, we see things slow down just a bit. I think this year is kind of up in the air of what might happen, but a lot of people get active that need larger homes or people that have children in school. The reason for this is there's a small gap of time where school gets out and then school restarts in the summer months. And so people start to get active with buying and selling when they need to make these decisions for their family in between the different school years. So then after that, we typically roll into what we consider the fall market, which is pretty much anything from September, October, up until Thanksgiving. It's another pretty strong time of the year. This year, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the economy with different things regarding politics, both in the city and on a more macro level, societal factors. There's a lot of things that could change the Q3 essentially, or the fall real estate market here in Chicago. However, typically and historically, the fall market is a pretty solid market. And then once you get through Thanksgiving, you have about a month spurt of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas where the market gets pretty active. And then we see it pretty much cool off for about a month and a half, 2 months until we get back into the early spring market, which is end of January, kind of early to mid-February of the following year. So just to kind of understand the different cycles in the market here in Chicago real estate, like I said, it's the early spring market all the way up until about June. Then you have the summer market from June, July, and August, fall market from September till Thanksgiving, a short little gap there in the winter from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then we're kind of into the next year. So it's really 4 big kind of bursts or spurts, and that is how we make buying and selling decisions and how we advise our clients based on what season we're in and the different supply and demand factors that are in the market. So that rounds out the 5 things you must know about the current state of the Chicago real estate market in 2023. If this video has been helpful, please do us a favor, like the video, comment down below any other questions you have, and be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can catch all of our future videos. Also, we'd love if you share this with a friend, or if you want to reach out with any questions, or if my team and I can help you in your transition to Chicago or around in Chicago, just text the number on the screen and we got you, we got your back, we can help you out. So without further ado, thanks for tuning in to another video, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, peace.